What's up, everyone, and welcome to my podcast called The Traumatized Man. Why is it called The Traumatized Man? Because I am traumatized. It's a podcast that really I've put together to help with this epidemic, this fatherless epidemic that I see happening in our country. To me, it's a huge problem, and I didn't realize how common I was in this country, how common I was in terms of the experiences that I had to go through from not having a just structured, functional family, even the basis of it, with a mother and a father in the home. Just a lot of dynamics that weren't healthy for a young man to experience, for a young man not to receive what is necessary, what is the responsibility of a father to impart onto a son. So anyways, I realized that these issues that I struggle with in life, these issues that prevent me from being successful, derive from the trauma I experienced, not just from the life of poverty and etc., but mainly and a lot because of the lack of good male role model. That's what I was lacking, and my life could have went a different way, maybe sooner in a better way if I would have had that. So I'm putting this together because I think it's time. I'm at a point in my life where I'm starting to figure out my trauma, right? The PTSD of that. What does that look like? What is it? I'm starting to know myself. Know thyself, Socrates says. Well, I'm starting to know myself. And in assessing and reviewing my life from the past to where I am today, I've learned a lot of things that I think can help other young men that are just getting started in their adult life, that are already with the deficit of no father, no male role model. Such a big issue that roughly 18.3 million children are suffering from it here in the U.S. 57% Black Americans are fatherless. 31% of Hispanics fatherless. 21% of whites fatherless. I mean, those are big numbers. I mean, we can't be proud of that. We as males, right? What is our purpose here? What is our function? How can we be proud of this? Now, we live in an amazing country, and we have the ability to turn these things around. As you can see, there's a lot of things happening within the government. We are living in history. It's the most significant history of our country right now. History is happening. And I know there's been some significant things from the Civil War. And it's an exciting time. It's a time that we can potentially make a positive impact on things that were definitely going negative. Why? Because of the internet. Because of technology. That's one of them. Because we can do things like this and just talk. And we don't classify ourselves, we don't have to classify ourselves in any particular groups to know who we are. Us Americans, we're more alike than what we think. You travel around, that's something I've learned through my years of traveling around as a sales guy. You know, whatever, promoting the business that I was managing, going to trade shows, meeting different people. You learn real quick that regardless of what race you're from, what nationality even you're from, people pretty much think the same way. And there is a lot of smart people out there. So anyways, that's what this show is about. We need to talk about these things. And I don't claim to have all the answers. I don't. I don't have all the answers in anything. I will say this. I claim to want to be better. I claim to want to share my experiences with other young men so they can have a little step up on life. They can figure things out a little bit sooner and not wait till they're 48 like me. That's what I want to do. I want to impart, information onto these young men if they so choose to listen, and allow them to put information into practice. When I was locked up in the county, there would be a lot of people that were coming out of prison. And that was the big thing, knowledge is power, knowledge is power. That was the deep prison thing, philosophy, if you will. So people would read books, people would educate themselves. And I used to think to myself, if knowledge is power and you've gained all this knowledge, because they were much more knowledgeable than I was at the age of 18, why do you keep going back to prison? You know, it's not that powerful if you keep going back to prison, right? And I realized then that, and I've always preached this, and no matter what circles I've been in, is it's not the knowledge that's powerful. I mean, it's powerful. It's a very powerful thing, knowledge, information. That's why the internet is so dangerous and so positive all at the same time. But unless you can apply knowledge, it's not that powerful. That's why I never got this, the people that consider themselves elite based on academia. You know, based on knowledge that they acquired through reading a book or listening to someone talk and taking notes. Yes, it's important. Yes, it's good. Yes, you have probably one up on someone in terms of what's the next step, which way to navigate your life. I'm not against education. It's when we become prideful about it, and we just start thinking because we can recite all these things and we know all these things that all of a sudden that makes us special. It's almost like a god that you worship. And it's yourself. It's the way that you make yourself important. I've realized throughout my life that it's the application of knowledge that's powerful. Those that have learned to apply the knowledge is what really is powerful. And from that point forward, I really started to take a mindset of how to I didn't know about as much about understanding discipline and self-discipline. I was still a young, selfish young man. That's why I know the things that you're struggling with. If you're a young man, 18 years old or whatever, that's just heading into manhood, and you started off fatherless, you started off already with a deficit as a man. So then you have different versions of manhood that people telling you should be a man. You have the person the friends that you're running around with, people in the street, people at school, who's popular, who accepts you, these cliques, right? You got the movies, you got the music telling you what is a man, and then you even have your mother at home, and your sister maybe, or your aunt or your grandmother, and they're telling you what is a man. And then you have all these things that's developed in your life, these mindsets of how you navigate through your life that you've developed. What is a man in your life? What does your manhood look like? And that's really what I want to talk about in this particular podcast, is these mindsets, right? What is the thing that prevents you from applying self-discipline? Because it seems so simplistic, right? Oh yeah, self-discipline. Everybody knows about that. But what is the problem then? What is the problem? Why can some of you who were not fathered correctly can't seem to go out and get a job and hold a job and carry your responsibilities? What's stopping you? If it's so easy and you know that is the thing that's going to elevate you in life and make you better, you could use that thing to help you, to elevate you, whether it's saving the money to invest or whether it's gaining an education, hands-on education to excel to the next level within those organizations or whatever employment you work at. That's what I did. I self-educated myself through entering in these organizations at the bottom level, proving myself at every level to the point where I was given opportunity because I talked the right talk. And it wasn't just talk. I learned that through my career as well. It's the difference is okay, now you have to sometimes walk out your talk. You can talk the big game all you want, and I'm good at talking the big game, but you have to live it. You have to walk it out. And when I started to do that more, because nobody's perfect and everybody talks the talk, but when I started to do that more in my life, I started to see my life elevate, because it wasn't just the talk. And then the people that I was talking to, trying to pitch myself to, when they saw that, hey, I provided some action, maybe not perfect, maybe still learning, maybe a little green, but I provided some action that produced results that's important to them when they started to notice. And again, I want to share these things with other young men because I come from the bottom. I was making $5.75 an hour coming out of the county jail with no education, still hadn't gotten my GED, through a temp service, living at a pastor's house. He was the pastor of a small church. He let me move with him to help me out, to change my life, because he had heard that I had changed by giving my life to Jesus. And I went from that point to becoming the general manager of organizations, managing at the top level, general manager, president level, director level. I couldn't have possibly conned all those people because I'm a con artist. I mean, I could, but it would say a lot more about those people than me. No, I learned. And every time I failed, I learned again. And when I failed, I disciplined myself to learn again. To gain the knowledge that these people that own these businesses, that run these businesses, to entrust me through my day-to-day practices, because they saw that I'm dependable, that I'm honest, that I try to walk with integrity and be a man of my word. They gave me the opportunities. And that's what I want to give to you. Everybody can go around talking about I'm the boss, I'm the big boss. Unless you really have been a big boss, you don't understand. You don't understand the responsibility that it is. What do they say? Heavy is the crown. And most people will break under pressure. And sometimes you have to go through a process of breaking. That's what made me stronger. I had to break my mindset. I had to realize, hey, own up to this. You didn't do your part. So you better figure out how to do it, or next time you have these opportunities to do that. That's what I want to talk about, is these mindsets that has developed in us from a lifetime up until this point of lack of guidance, especially from a lack of a father. It's like, how do you change that? You know, because the thing about it is it seems so easy, but these kids, these young men, you're men. I respect you as a man, but what I respect in a man is someone who works, someone who carries their end of the responsibility, someone who tries to be a man of their word, someone who knows how to respect, doesn't just always have to have the last word. It knows how, when it's time to, hey, listen, it's time to learn. I don't know about this and I want to learn, so I probably should keep my mouth shut. These are things that a father would teach you, because these are things that will give you success in your future. It will give you success. The people that kind of built some of these self-discipline habits in their life from a young person because they had good, functional parents. No parents are perfect. No family is perfect. I know that. But it's that much more of an edge. It's that much more of a step. And I've realized that working with just all kinds of people. I realized that I'm different. I think different because I didn't grow up with that structure. I didn't grow up with a mom. I'm very relatable to a lot of people. I don't judge people. Come from the bottom of the barrel, you don't judge. You know what it means to suffer. I want you to learn how to grab a hold of yourself. Why can't you get a job and why can't you hold it? Because that's the basics of the basics. That's why I go back to that. And I believe we should do it through the pillars of manhood, as I call them, which is work, which is respect authority, and walk with integrity. Do your best to do that. The fundamental things. Focused on being the moral, intellectual, masculine man. The man that has the ability to stand up, has the courage. Masculinity is not just power and strength. It's confidence. It's courage to stand up for what's right, even when it's hard, even when it's scary, even when it's tough. And that's what a father imparts upon a young boy. Well, that self-discipline to do that, to do the right thing even when it's difficult, is the thing that causes that boy to be successful as he gets older. Is the thing that causes him to compartmentalize his feelings and focus on drive. You have that within you. You have it within you to be fit. You have it within you to be educated. You have it in you to be successful in business. You have it in you to do whatever you want. But sometimes our mindset, from how we were raised and the things that we developed that was put into us, taught to us just by even subconsciously because of their reactions, or the ways we determine how to survive in this world through insecurity, that clouds us. We can't see the truth. Like, why do these kids, there's so many young men, grown young men, adult men, can't get it in their head that you need to work. You'll never be successful if you don't get this in your head, if you don't get self-discipline, right? And self-discipline is not just work physically. Self-discipline is work on controlling your emotions. Self-control is you can conquer armies. So I want to talk a little bit about how did these things get in us. I do a lot of reading, and I do a lot of internet searching and watching very good videos, and I stumbled upon this gentleman, Dr. Bessel van der Kolk. Dr. Bessel van der Kolk is a psychiatrist, probably something much more than just a psychiatrist. He's a very intelligent person in the world of psychology, and he was part of the research that was done to Vietnam veterans. So even developing the concept of PTSD based on research and studies from history of them. Like there was other psychologists that studied the veterans of World War II, et cetera, et cetera. So they started to study the effects of the trauma from these veterans coming from war, and why they're freaking out, right? Why they're can't adjust to regular society. So in 1978, he was treating Vietnam veterans, and he noticed that they consistently referred back to the dead brothers or soldiers. Their dead brothers, their dead soldiers. They struggled to be involved with the present in any meaningful way. So they were just disconnected from what was going on in the present. They displayed passive personality, but were very hyper reactive to conflict, going from 0 to 100 quickly. And for years I've always stayed away from this acronym PTSD because I've always known that it is affiliated with the military. It's affiliated with veterans, right? Veterans that went to war. And I've always respected our veterans that fought for this country. My grandfather, I've mentioned before, he's a World War II vet. Very proud of what he did for this country. And when it comes to the veterans, I don't these people, they've seen a lot more than what we've seen, even on the most traumatized life here in America. So I don't claim to compare myself to their trauma. But what's very interesting is that he did some research from another doctor from back in 1941, which was a psychoanalyst, working with World War II soldiers. And he wrote that the soldiers suffer from a psychoneurosis where the bodies continue to re-experience the terrible, frightening situations in terms of images, behaviors, and physical sensations. They became the core of their Dr. Bessel van der Kolk's definition of PTSD. The essential feature is the development of characteristic symptoms following psychology traumatic events that is generally outside the range of usual human experience. So it's really just discussing that how they discovered that these effects, these deficiencies in these people psychologically, where they can't even fit in and they snap 0 to 100. And I can relate to some of that. It's caused because they keep on going back to reliving something that's so traumatic, that's so serious, that's so life-changing. They can't get past it. They're stuck in that way of thinking, that way of life. They discovered that these symptoms are not as unusual as they thought. This is the interesting part. This is the part that really got me. That really got me kind of full circle back to PTSD. As I circle back to this, I realized they discovered that it's not as unusual as they originally thought, that trauma is extremely common. That 1 out of 5 women in America have a history of sexual molestation. That's a whole nother subject, and it's an indictment on fathers, by the way. Specifically, that fathers that are in their children's lives. Anyways, we won't get into that. There are many men that suffer from this as well. 1 out of 4 kids get beaten very hard by their parents. 1 out of 8 kids see physical fights between their parents. People used to think about the military when talking about trauma, but when they started to work with inner city kids, these particular psychologists started working with inner city kids, they discovered that the amount of trauma that they were going through was extreme on a daily basis. The nature of trauma that is experienced enters your eyes, it enters your skin, it goes down into your primitive part of your brain called the amygdala. So anyways, it gets stored in this part of your brain, and there is nothing you can do to stave off the inevitable, and your body automatically goes into a state of fight or flight, and it just collapses. It could collapse, it could react in different ways. The lingering effect of trauma is that you continue to react to mild stressors as if it's life or death. You know, life is in danger. Someone's life is in danger, and I can relate to some of that. I take everything seriously. You tend to become hyper reactive to minor issues like road rage, impatient, aggressive reactions. Most people are barely or not aware of their reactions are rooted in the experiences from their past. This is psychological. It's in you. You don't even realize how you're reacting to the world. And even though you may not have experienced this abuse in terms of physical abuse or sexual abuse, the fact that you were raised with this dysfunctional setting is not natural. Without your father in itself is traumatizing. And I'm sure that there's plenty of you that can relate to a lot of these symptoms that are happening. Most people are not aware of that. Only in the past few years they have been talking about the impact of poverty and racism. They're trying to treat this stuff. It's like basically what they're saying is PTSD affects us all. And it's all dependent on the amount of trauma, the amount of life of experience, the type of life of experience that you had growing up. And what a lot of people don't realize is that when you grow up in a dysfunctional place, whether alcoholism is involved, any type of abuse, consistent fighting, outburst, uncontrolled, undisciplined outburst and behaviors, maybe from parents, even dysfunction where parents divorce and leave each other, and fight and are constantly one side of they go visit one parent's visit, your dad is this, blah blah blah, and then they go visit the dad. It's just constant trauma to these children. It's negative effects, and then we buy them video games, and we buy them things, we buy them iPads, and we coddle them because we feel guilty that they're experiencing this. But our parents can't even get out of themselves because they're traumatized from their past. Most of the time, this is just a snowball effect. Fatherless people marry fatherless people. They search it out. They're comfortable in that way of living. Or they don't marry, they get with them, they have babies. We're insecure. What's the biggest thing with young women who are promiscuous? They got the father issue. They got daddy issues. Those whatever that everybody labels people like that. Because it traumatizes you. It makes you insecure, it makes you defensive. It makes you unable to submit yourself to authority so that you can self-discipline, so you can get something done, so you can accomplish something. And it starts with everything. How you react, what you eat, whether you have a routine established in your life, whether you go, sometimes that's what the job comes in and does, is it gives you that routine. Get up and go to work. Get up and go to work. Because if you can't even do that, you're not going to be a business owner. I got news for you. If you're struggling with the basic responsibilities of life, you're not going to be a business owner. You won't be a successful anything. Because you have to have fiscal responsibility. You have to have fiscal discipline to manage your finances. And we all struggle with that, by the way. But you learn to get better. And you stop making the same mistakes. That's what I'm encouraging you to do. Learn to start dealing with this trauma from the past, for whatever. Because I hear this all the time. You don't know what I've been through. Or you don't know what they've been through. That's a way to keep yourself where you're at. It's ignorance to me to say that. You don't know what anybody has been through. The only way you come out of the cave, Plato's allegory of the cave, is that you change this mindset that's in your head. So you deal with this trauma. And if you have different outbursts and you have issues with anger and you have issues with just dealing with the day-to-day stuff, I can relate to some of that. You need to deal with it. And that's why I'm bringing these things up. The routines of life, the self-disciplines of life will help you deal with that. Calm things down, focus on what's important, and don't overthink things. Focus on the basics of life. Work. Keep your frequency at a good level. Even keel. Control your emotions. You control it by the music you listen to. You control it by the company that you keep. You control it by what kind of thoughts you allow yourself to think. Because that's really what I'm getting at here. A lot of people don't, I believe this way, but I think we're a three-part being. We're so complex, we can't figure ourselves out. So we can't figure out how to discipline ourselves. Because one minute we're feeling happy and joyful, or we're in love. The next minute we're lustful and prideful, and we're all in the physical body. Look at me, aggressive. We're confused. And the truth is you're a three-part being. You have a physical body with physical desires, with physical needs. And your body, like a big baby, will do what it wants to do. If you let it eat, it'll eat. If you let it love sugar, it'll love sugar. If you let it sit around on the couch and do nothing, it'll sit around on the couch and do nothing. Because you control your body. It's this intertwined organism with you. Or your thoughts that you think, that you allow yourself to think, where they take you down bad rabbit holes. They take you down negative vibrations, negative frequencies. You got to keep yourself balanced and self-controlled and stay focused. That's the beginning. And you will start to see results by consistency. And deal with yourself. Deal with your emotions. Deal with your outbursts, your reactions. Be okay with the word no. Matter of fact, tell yourself no. Stop yourself. Well, I always go out and drink with my buddies. Okay, stop. I know it's easy. I know it feels good. I know takes the stress off. Or, video games help me think. Whatever, stop. Slow it down. Bring structure. Bring discipline. Force yourself. And eventually it'll be easy. And before you know it, it wouldn't be such a big deal if you kept that job. You actually can save money if you're disciplined with your money. But this is the very life skill that you need, that you should have learned from a good father. That's how it was designed to happen. It was designed to happen that way, for you to learn to deal with the day-to-day stresses of life, compartmentalize them, and stay driven and focused on the mission. The mission of success. The mission so you can provide and protect for your family. And you can stand up tall. And you can say, throughout the years, I have done everything I could to provide and protect for my family. And also be a good father to your children. And a good husband to your wife, if that's your destiny. But whatever you decide to do, business person or whatever, millionaire, billionaire, or someone that's in whatever, I don't care. It takes self-discipline for a man to consider himself a man, in my opinion. The self-discipline of work, the self-discipline of respect, and the self-discipline of being a man of your word, which means walk with integrity. That's the mindset you got to get. In ending, I mentioned the last time we went over the 21 principles of Dokido, the way of walking alone. I wanted to go over for the next several podcasts. I'll just be kind of mentioning these at the end, just to give you a little bit more of information, something to think about. I think it's important. That's why I say the moral intellectual, right? You need to think deeper than yourself. You need to be, like Socrates says, spend your life finding thyself. Because as you find thyself, you'll be able to control this body. You'll be able to control this mind. And you'll be able to learn faster, receive things in a faster way for what they are. And then you can process that information, apply some discipline so you can execute that information, and your life becomes better. It has to be intentional. And the intentional part is doing the right things. So anyways, number one, I'll just briefly mention this and kind of give you my 2 cents on it, and you go think about it. I always say I'm an uneducated man because I don't want you to take just my word for it. I could be wrong. Go search it out. Number one, accept everything just the way it is. Accept everything just the way it is. That's a good one. So the commentary on it is, life flows like water. Resist it and you will be swept away. The world unfolds as it will, and no one must resist its natural flow. To fight against reality is to weaken oneself. Accept is the first step toward mastery of your own destiny. You know, I really look at this and I think to myself, like, how does that apply to every day? Like, how does that apply to me today, right now, practically in my life as an American, as a person, right? As a healthy person. I want to be a healthy person. How does that apply? And I believe it's referring to control your emotions. A lot of this stuff, I think, is going to refer to control your emotions. Because if you make decisions out of emotion, something bad happens, right? And I get it, you know, emotions come out. Sometimes they're uncontrollable. But if something bad happens, and let's say you blow up, and I've done it, I've made those mistakes, and you say things you don't mean, and then all of a sudden those things start other things, and before you know it, there's arguments upon arguments upon arguments. You lost already. There's not going to be a solution within that situation. Now, what's going to carry you is the waves of this argument. But you said this, but I said that, but you said this. Versus what is the core root cause of this problem, and how do we find a solution? How do we intellectually have a conversation, not subjectively but objectively, about the situation so we can provide a solution? Well, we miss that because when you don't accept things as how they are, in other words, when the truth hits you in the face, stop, take a deep breath. This boils down to even, I really wanted to go do this thing. It was planned for a long time, but something happens where reality, maybe responsibility, maybe work, maybe mom, family says, no, we can't do this because of whatever. And instead of throwing a temper tantrum or figuring out how you can weasel it and making it happen, how you can force it, knowing that there's a bad outcome on the other side, sometimes based on your objective intellectual observation, you can just say, I understand. This is not the time. I'll do that later. There'll be another opportunity. And you accept it and move on. That's just saving yourself the issues that you're going to stir up by not. It's just being accepting to the current situation, I believe, allows you to be objective in figuring out solutions. Sometimes you just have to accept it. You can't control other people. You may have influenced your mom to make a certain decision. You may have influenced, your teachers. You may have fooled whoever. But sometimes, and most of the time, it's not the way to go. To me, in my opinion, the way to always live life is to be accountable. And now we all miss it. I know. I do too. But be accountable. Face it. You screw up, own it. Own it like you've never owned anything. It diffuses situations and it teaches you to apply self-discipline and say, yeah, I'm that way. I did that. I apologize and I'm going to change it. Most people lay off when you own it. You accept it. Or something that maybe you didn't do, but it's just a situation that happened in life. Instead of blowing up, uncontrollably start making decisions that you shouldn't. Accept it and then assess and make decisions. It'll get you farther in life. So I think that falls in line with self-discipline. Alrighty, guys. Well, listen, I appreciate you watching. Please like and subscribe if you get any value out of these videos. I'm getting better. I'm developing the channel. I know there's a lot of things I need to improve on, even in myself and how I communicate. I need to improve. I'm learning. So I will continue to make it better. Thank you for watching. God bless.